The Chronicles of Hamalot by Frank Salmon, illustrated by Billy Doran. Once upon a time, through the mists of ancient folklore, was a country called Hamalot. There was a large castle overlooking nearly all the land, so it was a perfect place to live. Sure enough, there was somebody living there, a pig called Porker Pie, and his wife called Rasher, with their daughter called Bacon. They enjoyed living there, but there was always something to do, as there was no one to help, and the jobs list seemed to be getting longer and longer. So it was time for a change of plan, as he kept telling Rasher, but she had no idea what to do, but hoped things would get better. This is where the story begins. Legends tell through mists of time a place called Hamalot, where pigs were loyal to King Porker Pie, in a land that time forgot. Now the castle was not in good condition, as some of the windows and doors were loose, creaking and letting in cold air. There was never any wood to burn in the big old fireplaces in the rooms, so poor Porker Pie had to go out into the witch's wood to collect logs and twigs to light the fire. Porker Pie and Rasher sat down and decided they need a hamtastic idea to change things. So they had to decide if they could stay in the big old castle with their daughter Bacon. So on the next page we see them sitting down trying to decide what to do. It was King Porker and Queen Rasher who came up with a plan to form a brotherhood of pigs and get rid of all the spam. They thought and finally decided on an amazing plan. If they were to call themselves King and Queen and ask the pigs from far and wide all around the country of Hamalot if they'd like to come and become knights. And there'd be enough room in the main hall in the castle to sit around the great big trough. And Porker Pie could give them all jobs and get them to do lots of stuff around the castle. And they decided to call them the Knights of the Round Trough. Because there was a great big trough in the main hall and there was lots of room to play games, so that was what they decided to do. And here is the plan. The plan was to form a band of good and honest knights to change the law across the land and give the pigs their rights. King Porker Pie, as he was now known, thought if he could get enough pigs to do all the work round the castle for him, then he could relax all day and take it easy and go for very important walks and count lots of very important flowers and bugs in the garden. So they decided they would advertise all across the land on social media using Instaham, Facebook, Squealer and Pigadvisor to get pigs to help repair and rebuild the castle. So Porker Pie decided he would become a better looking knight and feel important. So he got himself a crown, a cloak, a sword and a shield and decided to call himself King Porker Pie. And Rasher became the Hamalicious Queen Rasher, which meant that their daughter became the Pigalicious Maid Bacon. Aww. If any pigs were willing to become Knights of the Round Trough and do what's right, they would then get a helmet, a shield, a sword, and, you've guessed it, a hobby horse. They would then be knighted by the newly appointed King Porker Pie. And in the next page we see all the pigs lining up to become a knight. As word spread throughout the land, they came from far and wide, signing up to become a knight and stand by Porker's side. All the pigs had to do was kneel down, because Porker Pie was not very tall. Here we see the new pig being knighted by the king. Once the pig had signed the form and agreed to do what's right, King Porker would tap him with his sword. "Arise, Sir Pig the Knight!" Now you're a knight, you'll need a horse to travel far and wide, to rule the kingdom, protect our rights, and be by Porker's side. As soon as all the pigs were knighted, they were invited down to the main hall in the castle. But unfortunately, as we know, that when you put a lot of pigs sitting together in a room, it's going to be a little smelly. When the pigs became Sir Knight, they were invited to the bench. But when they sat around the trough, there was really quite a stench. Now, to try and get all the pigs to relax and get to know each other, King Porker decided that it would be a hamtastic idea to organise a hog party. So in the next picture we see the king himself helping the piglet waitress and the chef to bring out all the party food. This could get very messy and whooshy. King Porker decided, we'll have a meal and get the pigs to meet. We'll all make sure they have a drink and lots of cake to eat. The party was going very well in the main banqueting hall with lots of cake and lemonade until one of the knights found bugs and creepy crawlies on the plate all over the food, and he screamed out in horror. It seems it was all out of date too long. In the next page we see the pigs finding all the bugs and flies in their lovely party food. What a shock it was to find the food had such a pong, with flies and bugs all crawling around. It was out of date too long. In the next picture we see the pigs shouting at the waiter to sort it out. So the knights shoved away this wholesome swill. This stuff we will not take. The least we expected here tonight was lemonade and cake. Now come and take this stuff away and bring us something hot. There must be better food than this sitting in the pot. The party was taking a turn for the worst, and if the waiter could not try and keep the pigs at the end of the trough quiet, then the rest of the party could get involved and the whole thing could get very nasty. The complaints were noted from the floor and mentioned in the court. The king saw tweets on Pig Advisor and ignored them with a snort. The poor chef came out of the kitchen to see if he could help calm the mood of the pigs. So he went to the top table and asked for attention. And before the chef could answer, one of the knights, Sir Larry Trotter, who had tasted the party food and was not very happy. The next picture is that of Larry Trotter grabbing the head chef's lovely white coat and saying, Sir Larry Trotter stood up and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Boar, the food you're serving here tonight is just not fit to pour." There was a fear that the row going on in the main hall could somehow spread all over the castle. So it was thought that the least they could do was gently close the door into the main hall and ask them all to be quiet or leave. So the waiter asked very politely if they would leave. And here we see the waiter asking the pigs to get out. The waiter was told to shut the door and get them out of here. Even though he asked politely, all they did was jeer. But they all started to laugh and jeer at him and making a lot of noise. If the king was going to have to go to the main hall, he'd have to go in disguise and pretend to be a mucky pig. King Porker asked Queen Rasher, could he borrow her party dress and her wig and maybe some lipstick? So that's what he did. He put on the wig, the party dress and put on lipstick. And he was all ready to go and headed down to the main hall to see for himself. With pigs all eating from the trough, they could not give a care. With food and lemonade on the floor, they had no time to stare at who came in the main front door and sat down with a wink. "I'll skip the food, it's nothing great. Just get me one more drink." Because the pigs were so angry, they did not notice the king all dressed up in that lovely dress, coming in through the main front door. And when asked if he wanted something to eat, he replied, "I'd rather just have one more drink, as the food is not great." he should know he ordered it. All seemed to be going well. The king had done such a good job dressing up as a mucky pig. His party dress looked fabulous. The pig wig was a great success. And everything looked like it had calmed down. Here's a picture of the king looking the part. It was King Porker, but no one knew he wore a great pig wig. He wanted to see what life was like, being a mucky pig. Before you knew it, a row had started. Here we see the pigs really getting mad and picking up ladders. The next picture is the scene in the main hall. Just then they started throwing food and splashing on the wall. The king decided it's time to leave before we have a brawl. There was food and drink being thrown at the walls and splashing everywhere. The king had not seen pigs like this before, and he was really afraid that this lovely party dress would be ruined if stuff got spilt on it. So he stood up on one of the broken chairs and made a little speech, and went something like this. Now listen here, you noisy bunch. I'll have to make a stand. It seems the way this party's going, it's getting out of hand. In an effort to explain on behalf of the pig knights, Sir Larry Trotter stood up and said that it was not the fault of the pigs for all the mess, the awful noise, or the injured chef. Here is what happened. Now just a minute, Your Majesty, said Sir Trotter from the back. Me and the boys were just having fun, some cake and a snack. The king was nearly feeling sorry for the poor pigs, because Sir Larry Trotter wanted to try and calm the pigs down. After all, they had broken all the tables and chairs and thrown lemonade and cake on the floor and all over the walls. He thought he'd better say something nice about the evening. I want to toast to better times, so raise your mugs aloft, and hope the next time that we meet, the cake won't be this soft. The king was trying to imagine the headlines in the newspapers the next day, and all the comments on Pig Advisor, Facebook, and Instaham, and Squealer. Sir Larry Trotter said he was going to leave a comment on the page, and he would not be going back again. And that what went on here tonight was ridiculous, and they'd have a word with the king. And this is what he said. I'm going to sign the comment page and rate it out of 10. I tell you, sir, I won't be back, and neither will my men. As Sir Larry Trotter left the hall going to get his sword, he stopped to sign the comment page, and he wrote a big 0 on it. On the next page, this is what he said. As he left the hall, he said, I'm going to get my sword. This place won't be on Instaham or get a food award. But it turns out he was not worried, not concerned. He wasn't even thinking about what happened, because he could not be bothered. So in this second last picture we see him actually in bed. Silence fell upon the hall, and not a word was said. The complaint, it seems, had come too late. The king had gone to bed. Now, like all good adventure stories, the new morning came as the sun was in the sky. The knights were getting ready for another adventure, getting on their hobby horses. And if you look closely just above the mountain, in the picture, you'll see what is part of the next adventure. Yes, you've guessed it. It's a Hamasaurus in the sky. And in the next adventure, you'll see how young I'm a Grunt rescues the Hamasaurus, and then how the Hamasaurus rescues I'm a Grunt. But morning came and the pigs woke up with another adventure planned. So wave goodbye, we'll see you soon in a mythical Hamalot land. To be continued. Goodbye and Slán